You are about to enter a good news zone. Values in Action is next. Welcome to Values in Action. What if our community consisted of people who were not doing good things? What if everyone were going in their own direction, not concerned about the common good? What if people were not deploying their values for the benefit of all? Well, lots of people feel that's exactly what's happening in our community, that there is no good news. But at Project Love Purple America, where we've trained 50,000 teens to build cultures of kindness, caring, and respect, we feel differently. Although you may not see it on the news every day, there are thousands of people making a difference by putting their values in action. And we'll be exploring that right here every week. Our guest today is Jonathan Leebow, Executive Vice President of Majestic Steel USA. Welcome, Jonathan.
Hello, Stuart.
Here's Mimi Plevin-Faust with a brief profile of Majestic Steel.
Like the product it makes, a steel company that cares can strengthen an entire city. A family-run business since 1979, Majestic Steel, its employee volunteers, and its many community partners have planted gardens, built neighborhood playgrounds, created scholarship programs, sponsored and marched in walks to feed the hungry, and raised funds to transform the lives of children with disabilities. Wherever Clevelanders have needed a hand, Majestic Steel has been there, strengthening Greater Cleveland from the ground up.
Jonathan, let me start with a question about the values that you and your family put into Majestic Steel and all your employees. Can you summarize those for us?
Certainly. Recently, we used the acronym of TICKET, T-I-C-K-E-T. The first T stands for trust, I for integrity, C for continuous improvement, K for knowledge, E for enthusiasm, and T for togetherness.
A simple question. You are second generation into the company.
Mm-hmm.
And my question is, are you a product of the values of these corporations, or this company has your values into the company?
It's kind of a combination. Certainly, I adhere to the values of the company, but also the company adheres to the values as well. So,
but growing up, were you brought up into these values?
Well, certainly. My father, who started this company in 1979, instilled values in me at a young age. Sometimes it put me in uncomfortable positions in my life, but ultimately, in the long term, I think it's important to have those core values. They can never go do you wrong.
You had difficulty practicing them?
Certainly as a child, I made mistakes and, had my failures. But that's what I think gives people accountability and responsibility in life. Certainly there's other ways to learn accountability and responsibility, but those are really good ways, I think, by making mistakes early on where nobody gets hurt, and innocent mistakes.
Now this ticket, this is a very clever way to remember and implement these values. Is it enough to have it spelled out and posted on the walls? But how do you have people or your employees or team member practice this?
It's about really what we've been doing all along, and it's basically taking our actions and putting it into words. Majestic Steel is never complacent. We're always striving for improvement.
So would you say that the trust value creates a greater sense of unity between your employees? How does that actually take place?
Trust is not demanded. It has to be earned. And it's a continuous process. So certainly it's the actions in the community, and fortunately I'm in a position at this company now because of the effective people at Majestic Steel, and my brothers who work there actively and visibly allow me to do things right here in the community.
Now, these people who work there, and obviously they hear about values hidden under this ticket, and then they talk about it, they hear it. Have they been able to take these values home? Have their home life improved? Have their life in their neighborhood improved because of practicing these values at work and taking it home?
If they're able to do that, that's great.
But don't you think these values should be internalized, then only they become values? If they come an office and read these values and suddenly they're doing something, oh, I got to follow this value. But the value has to become their core. They have to internalize it. And once they internalize, you can't take it out. When they are home or they are in the neighborhood, they will still act with those values, don't you think?
Absolutely. It comes internally first.
Right.
And that's what we're about. It's about internally at Majestic Steel doing things actively at Majestic, and then internal actually transforms into external as well.
Well, that's what your gift is to our community. You employ 200 individuals when they go out, and they can touch another 200 people, and they can spread these values. Wouldn't the society be a better place to live?
Absolutely, somehow, some way. We don't necessarily have to put a mark on it and say how it helps, but ultimately it will benefit other people, and that's the goal.
In terms of how you and your brothers conduct yourselves and interface with your employees, how would you characterize that?
Oh, it's special. You know, I'm very fortunate to have my brothers that I work side by side with. It's certainly a lot of unity. It's sometimes obviously difficult and challenging because we have differences of opinion, but we're never indifferent towards each other as brothers. And we have that special quality together, and we'll never lose those values. And that's something that was instilled at a young age by my mother. And that's important as well to recognize as well, that my brothers are effective and good and caring and have good intentions, and they want to do good for the company and do well and sustainably develop the company. And that passion and that courage comes from our family.
You said that trust, for example, or respect, for example, is not demanded, it's earned. How do you and your brothers earn that trust and respect from your employees?
Well, a lot of it is by, just being visible and being active at the company. Sometimes, not saying anything and just being there is a good thing. We don't have to say a word. Practicing silence sometimes and being a good listener.
Now, Jonathan, if the business owner or you three brothers, if you are very smart and very intelligent and you know business inside out, why do you need values?
Well, values are so important. I mean, that's what kind of keeps you stable. The steel industry that we're in is a very volatile industry. It's extremes, highs and lows, peaks and valleys, like any business, but the steel industry historically is that way. But with our values, nothing can shake us as a company. We're stable, we're steady, we're strong.
No, it's more important than the smartness, it's more important than the knowledge.
Well, it has to go both ways, I think. You need a combination. If you only have the smartness and the knowledge, but you don't have the values in the proper place, then something's not right. It's not going to make the company good, I think, in the long term. So certainly I'm not an absolutist here, but I'm saying that our way works for the Majestic way, the Majestic experience.
Jonathan, thank you so much. In a moment, joining us is going to be one of Jonathan's team members talking about how the Majestic Steel values ripple throughout the employee ranks. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Values in Action. With us in this segment is Jonathan Leebow once again, and Tony Verchek, who is a supervisor at Majestic Steel. Tony, welcome.
Thank you.
Tony, I want to ask you, we heard a lot about Jonathan's values, about his brother's values, how they're incorporated into Majestic Steel, core values at Majestic Steel. How have those values changed you as a person?
Well, it makes you be a better employee. It's a very comfortable place to work when you know that the people who run the place, own the place, they trust you. You have a lot of trust back. Then you take that trust and you use it in your daily life too.
Now, how do you do that, and how does that trust then go into your employees and into their families and into the community?
They know that the company is always has good integrity and is a trusted name in the industry. They know that the company is going to be around for a while. they can take that home and their families can feel that they have a good, solid future.
Now, Tony, with all these values which you see in the company, and because of you can trust the company, you can trust the people you work for, does that also inspire you to become trustworthy?
Oh, it certainly does.
And-
Yes. That's the foundation for everything. If you don't have trust, you're always wondering what your future is and where it's going to go, and you take that home with your family also.
Now, when you go home, do you inspire the trust in your children, in your family, and in your neighbors? Do you come across other people who are totally strangers? Do you inspire that trust in them as well?
When that's the lifestyle that you have at work, you're able to take that home and you're able to utilize that. That's the only life you know then. You know that that's the only way to conduct business, that's the only way to conduct your personal life.
Jonathan, when your employees have the degree of trust that Tony is articulating, is it less likely that you're going to find an employee that just feels like they're a number?
No employee is a number. Everybody's an individual at Majestic, so everybody's opinion counts.
Tony, how does Jonathan and his brothers communicate that you count as an individual? It doesn't matter if Tony is your supervisor, you could be new to the company, you count as an individual. How does that play out?
No matter what, they will stop and talk to every individual there. It could be the very newest employee or it could be the longest term employee. Everybody is as important to the whole picture of Majestic being a company and having the integrity that the Leebows have installed in Majestic Steel.
Now, how when somebody makes a mistake on the floor, how is it handled?
We have a lot of experience in our company, and the resources that we have, we're always able to teach. If there's a mistake made, we're always try to prevent the mistake naturally, but a mistake is you teach that person. It's a constant learning process. You learn every single day.
Jonathan and Tony, I know that Majestic Steel is more than just being within your employee groups, that you project yourself and that trust into the community. Can you talk about how Majestic is involved with the community and how does that reinforce the employee trust and the pride in Majestic Steel?
Well, there's several programs that Jonathan has instilled. We have the Walk for Hunger. We do things for a lot of less fortunate people. We do things at Christmas time for the local community. We collect toys and food and things like that, and we are constantly giving back. And between the trust and the teamwork, that togetherness, that's what Majestic is, and Jonathan instills that.
I want to thank you for being here, Jonathan, Tony, and in a moment we're going to be here with our community panel.